And welcome back to Zanpakuto Theory Video Day. So, this actually would have been the last video, but luckily, I remembered a little Miss Senna from a certain movie, which I actually own. And she did, in fact, have a Zanpakuto, so we get one extra one before I pretty much finish off this series next week, unless someone can remind me of another Zanpakuto, at least name-wise or appearance-wise, that we don't... that we see. And I'm not, by the way, including those three Squad 3 members who got completely one-shotted. I think they were like the fifth, third, and fourth or sixth seat. But they did all have Zanpakuto, and they did actually activate them, but we never saw them or anything like that. So unfortunately, there's little I can go off of from that. Plus for video, I mean, I'd probably wrap them all into one video. But no, Senna, we can talk about Senna. Now, Senna was actually the MacGuffin character, if you will, the Maltese Falcon character of the first movie, which was Memories of Nobody. She's not actually a true Shinigami. She was the Shidinju, which was actually a group of spirits that came together and made one single being, and she had a flood of different memories inside of her that were not her own per se, and really nothing of hers was really her own, including the Zanpakuto. The Zanpakuto was lost in the Precipice world in the series, in the movie, prior to the movie actually beginning. Because she was a amalgamation of many different spirits into one, that Zanpakuto also became hers. But that being said, it was a Zanpakuto that existed, so it's a Zanpakuto we can talk about. And her Zanpakuto, Mirakumaru, which translates into Maitreya Circle. Maitreya Circle. It's basically in simple form as an ordinary katana. In its release form, it takes the form of a what is it called? A kakara with a pointed tip when released, which I believe is basically a monk's staff. Yeah, it's a monk's. It takes the form of a monk's staff. I thought it had a resemblance to that, and it's a little hard to see in this image. Fortunately, I found another image that does show it better that isn't copyrighted or anything, so no one's going to get on my case for it. You can get a better look of it here. It basically is like a monk's staff with a spear tip at the end of it. That's what it looks like. It's actually a pretty nice looking Zanpakuto. Very reminiscent of like Ikaku's being a spear, but his is just a 3-section staff with no special ability apart from turning into a 3-section staff. Hers, though, with the release command, call forth the twilight or bring them into the twilight, allows her to manipulate wind, specifically in creating tornadoes and manipulating the tornadoes. And honestly, while it doesn't seem to be a true powerhouse Zanpakuto, it does seem effective. Like, it was effective clearing the area she was in when she released it of blanks. So it definitely has power and capability to it, especially with like the spiritual pressure melded into it. It also in the movie does seem to flash a bit. Now, whether or not this is maybe like a lightning or like static electricity caused by the rotation of wind, something that Karya did in the Bount arc, or whether or not that's just her spiritual pressure kind of like, increasing the ability of the tornado. Yeah, you can make some educated guesses. It primarily, though, seems to be wind-based, which, there you go, gives us another wind-based Zanpakuto to talk about. Like, when I mentioned a while back that when it comes to the elements, we only really see fire, water, and ice. One lightning Zanpakuto in terms of Chojiro Sasakibe, the Squad 1 lieutenant. His Zanpakuto being revealed to be a lightning-based one. But we don't see almost any earth, though obviously it turns out we did see one in canon and 2 if you count filler. And with her, we've seen at least one legitimate wind-based Zanpakuto. Tachikaze's kind of a wind-based, but kind of not. It's more dealing with explosions. But hers is clearly a wind-based Zanpakuto. So with that being said, what would first off, does this Zanpakuto have any other abilities to it? Probably. We only see her manipulating one tornado at a time. She's very likely capable of creating one or two, maybe three tornadoes. She could probably create more than one and control it with practice and time. Likewise, it's probably one of those things where she can manipulate the tornado to not just strike the ground, but instead of hitting the ground, curve and hit an opponent who's facing, who she's maybe facing off against. So she brings the tornado down, just kind of swings in and attacks, and maybe clears the field. What does the Bankai of this Zanpakuto look like? Well, again, physically speaking, in terms of does the sword change its shape, we can look towards the other elemental Zanpakutos for an example of whether or not that's the case. With Ryojin Jika, Zaka no Tachi, it does not change its shape. At best, all it does is change the kind of the look in terms of it looks like a burnt sword now. That's it. With Hyorin Maru, the sword itself does not change. Rukia's Soriana Koto, not Soriana Kotoari, that's Fukitake. Sonde Sorina Shirayuki, and Haka Togami, her Bankai, doesn't change the shape of the sword. Any other elemental ones that I'm missing up that we know of Bankai for? As far as I could tell, Chojiro's would not change its shape. We don't know that for certain, but it doesn't look like it would have. There's not many other elementals, Zanpakuto, that we have Bankais for that I can really give a concrete answer on, but based on everyone we've seen, hers would probably fall into suit of not changing its form. It probably would still be maybe the staff might get maybe a bit more ornate. You might see more jangling chains or bells on the end of the staff. It might be a bit more stylized. Maybe it gets a little longer or something like that. Maybe the blade increases a little bit. But otherwise, the staff would change very minimally, or not at all. Really, with an elemental Zanpakuto, it's the effect that's the big kicker here. And what would the effect of this type of Bankai be? Well, there's a couple routes you could go. Summoning giant-ass tornadoes, which is pretty basic, but still a powerful ability. Something like dozens and dozens of tornadoes. Again, basic, but powerful nonetheless. But I think you could see it more, and it's probably not like the strongest wind-based Zanpakuto. There's probably a Zanpakuto out there that is stronger in this, because while she's springing down tornadoes, that seems to be the only effect, or the only main effect. The only, so he's like, you're stuttering there, you're having a little trouble speaking. Yeah, I don't know what it is, just, it's Sunday. You cut me some slack. But the main effect, it seems to be the only main effect. Whereas a real true wind Zanpakuto, whatever the strongest wind Zanpakuto there is out there, would be something like Ryojin Jika or Hyorimaru, where it's manipulating wind in all facets. A lot of people assume for a while, especially with the games, that Katen Kyotsu was a wind-based Zanpakuto. So assuming that were a wind-based Zanpakuto, hypothetically, Ukitake, Shunsui pulls his blades out, and he just starts throwing gusts of wind. Like Bushogama is an attack he uses. He could theoretically put his two swords together, create a tornado, throw it. Wind blades, a dome of wind. See, that would be the true strongest wind-based Zanpakuto there is. Not just one aspect of what the wind can do. So clearly her Zanpakuto would probably be an extension of that to some degree in Bankai. My guess is she would be summoning much larger tornadoes, definitely. But I feel like she would constantly be wrapped around like a tornado around her body. Similar in a sense to, actually very similar to how you see both Hyorimaru being worn, Daiyurin Hyorimaru being worn by Toshiro, and Ryojin Jika being worn by Yamamoto. I feel like this might be something akin to that, where she's got a constant rotation of wind around her that probably moves so fast that you either barely see it or don't see it. But the minute you come in contact with it, it just grinds against you and could rip you to shreds if you're not careful. Just swords bounce off it, unless your spiritual pressure is much greater than hers. And if you're, say, Yamamoto, because wind and oxygen and all that, you get close enough to Yamamoto's inner Bankai, she would suddenly just be lit aflame, just incinerate or something. That'd be hilarious, actually. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that like Stormwater W didn't turn out to be the wind. I mean, it's spelled the wind, but it's actually the wind. Um, which, oh well, it is what it is. I would have preferred to see, because we don't get enough. We don't see a lot of wind-based powers in Bleach. Nor do we see a huge amount of lightning-based powers. We see more lightning than we see wind, honestly. Hell, we see more lightning than we see actual water-based. Now I say it out loud because Hyorimaru is more predominantly an ice type than a water type. The only water type powers we see are with Ronkars, with Hollybell and the other guy, the guy that Shuhei fought. Findor, that's who we fought. So actually, I take that back again. Yeah, we see more of those than we ever see wind. No Ronkar used wind. No Stormwind ever used wind. The only Shimigami I know that's legitimately used wind is her. Tachikaze kind of uses wind a little bit, and it's Shikai, but not really ultimately. So yeah, why does wind get the knock on? I don't know. Who knows? But ultimately, yeah, it's probably one of the more simplistic answers that yes, she just summons much larger, much more fiercer tornadoes, but she probably has a much higher rotation on these tornadoes, so they grind on the opponent. And I would like to think the idea of her wrapping herself in wind and like a tornado armor, kind of similar to how, again, Yamamoto wraps himself in basically an armor of super heated Ryatsu to the point where he's now as hot as the sun. That would be, I like that idea. Whether or not it is her Bankai, we will never know because this was not a canon character, nor is the Zanpakuto technically canon. So we'll never know the answer to that. Well, but it's fine. It's fine. Either way, though, yeah, that's my thoughts, though, on what this Bankai could have been. What do you think it could have been? Put in the comments below, let me know. Do you like the character of Senna? I liked her all right. I will admit, I did find her a little annoying. Like, I don't, seeing as we're pretty much done with the video, I'll spend a minute or two just talking about the character. Okay? She is very endearing because she's just very bubbly and likable, but she is one of those people who, there's a scene I like that kind of, not I like, but there's a scene that I think really represents kind of how I feel about the character's personality and the type of personality she has. It's that, why did you kill those things? Like, because it's my job? It's like, did you know what they are? I don't know. What were they? I don't know, but I just felt I had to destroy them. It's like, wow, that's a little arrogant of you. Like, that little ego trip, that's good. That little ego trip bites you in the ass later on. Like, yeah, those kind of, like, moments, like, it's my job. Like, oh, God, not this type of character. Fortunately, she very much improves later on. She actually was a very nice character. I did like her character, ultimately. It's a shame that her character ultimately died, so to speak. Until then, though, that's just my brief thoughts on the character. And the movie I thought was okay. I liked the later movies more, honestly, than I liked the first one. The first one, out of the gate, is always the test starter movie for, the end. Like, Naruto had how many movies? And they're still making more, I think. Maybe. Like, Boruto movie, I think, was the last one, but they'll probably make another one. But yeah, like which one was it? I own two of them. Land of Snow one was the first movie, and that was all right. The Stone of Gello was the next one that was better. The third one, though, like the one where he makes that moon Rasengan, I'm like, that one, yeah. And then the Shippuden movies were hit and miss, but not bad. And this was the same thing. The first movie was fine. Then later on, it got better and better. And the Hell Arc one, the Hellverse one, is a little weird. I'll admit that one. You know what's weird? Because there's no Kenpachi. All the other ones had some Kenpachi in there, and I didn't get my Kenpachi in hell. Kenpachi ripping hell apart, man. Whatever. No, it's fine. It's just different is all. Either way, Kenpachi doesn't have to be in everything just because I'm a fan of the character. Same with Urahara doesn't have to be in everything just because I'm a fan of the character. Either way, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I'll see you next week with the final one. Again, unless you can give me another one besides Tokonata. Yeah, spoiler, that's the last one coming up later on. Unless you can find me another Zanpakuto to talk about besides Tokonata. This will be the last one, basically. Or he will be the last one. So, thanks for watching. Hit that bell if you want notifications. I'll see you next time. Later.